So getting into the results, both red and amber LED light showed statistically significant changes, and it reduced the wrinkle volume in the periocular area by 30%.
It's
And
awesome.
I freaking love that result because this shows us that it really works. You can add this red light therapy as your 11th step in your regimen.
Shake
Yeah.
it.
Yes,
You know.
shake, vibration plate, red light, it's working.
Yes.
It's working.
And so that's really significant for a non-invasive low energy treatment.
Totally.
Yeah.
Welcome to AP Class, your virtual journal club for all things aesthetic medicine. Created by injectors for injectors, this is where we take a clear, evidence-first look at the research shaping modern aesthetics. Each episode will unpack a study, what's solid, what's questionable, and how the evidence informs natural, refined results in real practice. Class is now in session. On today's episode, we're breaking down the evidence behind a fan favorite, red light therapy. From LED masks to luxury wellness studios, red light therapy has completely taken over the beauty and longevity space. But as providers, we wanted to know, is there actually evidence behind this, or is this a trend wrapped in really good marketing? So today, we're diving into a randomized split-phase study that compared amber light and red light therapy to determine if these truly improved wrinkles and signs of aging. We'll break down the science, the study, and the clinical outcomes, plus what this means for patients who are trying to decide if purchasing these devices are worth the investment. Class is now in session. Hello.
Hi.
Welcome back. This is our 5th episode?
No.
No.
Yeah.
Fifth? I
Okay,
thought it was
hold
the
on.
fourth.
Okay, wait. The first one we broke down a research study.
Then
The
we got
second
into the
one,
BBL.
Stanford study, BBL,
Microneedling.
microneedling.
The mid cheek.
Oh my God, the mid cheek.
The mid cheek.
Number 5.
Wow.
Let's
Okay, we're
Oh.
flying. I love this
Wow.
for us. Yay. What's new?
Not that, we don't see each other every day.
Oh my God, that was so dorky.
Yeah, nothing's new with me. What about you, Sarah?
Not a lot. I mean, we've been having really great time in clinic, I think, doing a
Yeah.
lot of, we did a BBL, basically a seminar, workshop yesterday, which was really interesting. Learned a lot there.
Yeah, we have an allergen training next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lots of AP class episodes.
Mhm.
I know LAMCA just happened in LA.
Oh, yeah.
Last weekend. We didn't go to that, but we need to look into the conferences.
Yeah.
Figure out what we
Yes.
want to go to next.
Yes.
Yes.
For
That's
sure.
on our to-do list.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to shout out, I know you and I were talking about this, but open evidence. So for any listeners that are providers that want access to more like research
Mhm.
in an AI format, open evidence is freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Highly recommend.
So good. I mean, I probably shouldn't say this online, but I recently had to take my recertification exam, and it's open book. It's open book, guys. And that thing
Stop.
saved me. It saved me.
It's so good. It's so good.
Yeah.
And when my kids had norovirus 2 weeks ago, I was like, okay, here is my clinical scenario.
Oh.
Wow.
2.5-year-old. She
Really?
weighs this much, like vomiting for 6 days. It's like, okay, what's her skin turgor? Take a look at her mucous membranes. I'm like, oh my God, okay, yes. I'm like back in
Yeah.
practice. It was
Well, I
amazing.
remember like a few weeks ago, you texted us, hey, how do I figure out the amoxicillin dose for...
ear
And
infections.
I literally looked it up online, tried to calculate it, and I couldn't get the answer. So if open evidence gives you the answer to those things, that's great.
Open evidence is like up to date on steroids.
Oh, that's amazing.
Which like up to date, I think we all have used as clinicians.
Yeah, but it's really
That's
expensive.
like our go-to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super expensive.
So anyone who wants open evidence, I think you have to be a provider because you have to put in an NPI
Yeah.
number. But it's free
Yeah.
That's incredible.
and it pulls all of the latest research. So
yeah.
That's
we
amazing.
love that. Anyways, let's get into it. Okay, episode number 5. For those of you that don't know me, I am Megan Usich, family nurse practitioner.
I'm Aisha Patel, physician associate.
And I'm Sarah Perchuk, physician associate.
We are the providers at Radiance Wellness, and we are here bringing you AP class. So, on today's episode, we're diving into a study on photobiomodulation. The title of the study is called Photobiomodulation Reduces Periocular Wrinkle Volume by 30%, a randomized control trial. So, that's a big word. It may sound foreign, but it's actually something that is found in many households. It is a type of light therapy, and in particular, most people know that as red light therapy. Photobiomodulation is just the big fancy scientific term for that. But we all know the claims that red light therapy or any type of light therapy is great for the skin. We see it everywhere. But this study in particular was taking a look at two different types. So red light versus amber or yellow light, comparing those to see are there any changes in the skin and in signs of aging.
Yeah, and we all know that there's like a huge hype right now on LED lights. Like there's face masks, and like whole body contraptions.
Oh, yeah.
And we get patients in all the time, and they're like, "So should I get this? Like, is it worth it? What is it gonna do?" And to be honest, like I didn't know what the correct scientific answer was there. We know that we use them in practice with our treatments, facials. Providers are using them, patients are using them at home, but we didn't know what the scientific answer of what's going on there. Well, I at least didn't. So it was nice to kind of get into this study and learn the actual quantified outcomes of what LED therapy can do.
Yeah, it really reminds me of that reel on Instagram and TikTok right now of that girl. She's on her shake plate. She's got her red light mask on, her Stanley cup, the red wand, the red hair wand, and, you know, the weights on her wrist, every contraption that's out there.
Yep.
And I really want to know, is this something that we are recommending to add one more thing into people's nighttime regimens?
Yeah, that 11th
Totally.
step
Yeah,
into your skincare routine.
exactly.
Like, do we need this one?
Yeah, so the interesting part about this study was it compared the two wavelengths directly. So we know generally that red light is for anti-aging and amber light is for rejuvenation. And this study was great because it determined if there was a statistical significance between the difference between the red light and the amber light when all other variables are controlled, which we haven't really seen.
I think just to back up real quick, because when we were reading the study and I was doing a little bit of research on it too, I wanted to know, like, okay, well, what is it about red light therapy? Like, what is it actually doing to the skin? So bear with me here. But red light is absorbed by mitochondrial cytochrome C oxidase, which sounds really complicated, but it's not. It's within the cells of our skin in the powerhouse. We're joking around.
Mitochondria, the powerhouse of the cell.
Yes. That's like the one thing that everyone can remember from science.
If you don't remember that from microbiology, are you even a mid-level provider? I don't know.
But so that basically triggers this cascade of cellular effects. It increases ATP, all right? So that's the energy currency of the cell. We know that. It increases collagen synthesis. It decreases collagen breakdown. It stimulates fibroblasts. We know that stimulating fibroblasts increases collagen. And then it modulates reactive oxygen species and inflammation. So think of your reactive oxygen species as like your anaerobic bacteria or acne, inflammation in the skin. So those are all of the things that we know it's benefiting. And we see that. People know that when they do red light masks, they tend to see improvements in acne or inflammation.
Yeah, so this is great because it translates directly into how we can talk to our patients and what we can recommend that they buy if we do recommend that they get one of these red light masks or boards.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I was ready to throw down like $3,000 on a panel. So I definitely, this study was really helpful.
Good
like,
thing
okay,
we
it's
did
worth
the
it.
study.
It's worth it. I don't think Greg's
Don't
gonna
give
be
it away,
happy.
you guys. Don't give it away. We're not
Don't
there yet.
tell Greg. Don't tell Greg.
Oh gosh.
It's not $3,000. It's like 300. Okay, so before we jump into it, let's just quickly go over hierarchy of evidence. So where does this land in all of our research? So this is a level 2 study. So if we think about that pyramid at the top, we have our level 1, systematic reviews, randomized control trials. Level 2 is our lower quality RCTs. This is going to land there, and we'll explain why. But so usually there's some limitations in the methodology to make it a level 2, or it's happening just in like one center, a single study. And then level 3, cohort studies, case control. Level 4, case studies, case reports. Level 5, expert opinion. So we're up there. This was a pretty solid study.
This was a good one. The population that they picked, so included women aged 40 to 65 years old that had moderate signs of photoaging. So that's visible wrinkles, skin laxity, pretty relative to the patients that we see in practice. They had 137 participants. Only 83 completed the trial, and we'll get into that later. But none the so, is that even a word?
None the so? No, that's not a
No,
word.
yeah.
But I like it. Roll with it. Let's hear it. Put it in a
the
sentence.
so.
Whatever that means. It was
Nevertheless?
Nevertheless, none the so, nevertheless.
I don't know where that
I
came
love
from.
that.
Nevertheless, it was still a controlled group. So they excluded anyone that had uncontrolled thyroid disorders, skin pathologies, recent aesthetic treatments, anyone that's pregnant or breastfeeding, anyone that's using retinoic acid or photosynthesizing medications, or anyone with significant facial asymmetries. One thing to keep in mind, they didn't have anyone using retinoic acid, but a lot of our patients do use it, or they should be using it.
Mm-hmm.
And it isn't a true contraindication. So you can still use your retinoids and still use your LED masks at home at the same time. But one thing is to keep in mind, you don't want to use something so thick or occlusive that's going to block that absorption of that LED light. So you're not going to put on something super thick and creamy right before putting on your LED mask.
Right.
Yeah, that had me, of course, going down a rabbit hole. Like, what can you put on your skin before your LED mask? And you really can use pretty much everything. And like you mentioned, these were just to control for variables in the study, because if someone's on a retinol, then maybe they have an improvement in something.
Better looking skin.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So, and I think just for people to understand that retinoic acid, and Sarah, you were mentioning this too, like the LED red light doesn't absorb or doesn't give off that UVB radiation, which is what is photosensitizing.
Yeah.
So using a retinol, using photosensitizing medications has no effect on red light and what it does to the skin.
Yeah.
Cool.
So they also limited the study to Fitzpatrick scale level 2 through 4 and I always want to say Grogu from Mandalorian, but it's Glow-Gow, the Glow-Gow photo. Yeah, the Glow-Gow photo aging scale 2 through 4 as well. So for the Fitzpatrick scale, we're not seeing how the red light works on anybody that's really dark or anybody that's really fair. And for the Glow-Gow scale, we're not seeing anybody at a 1. So those are people that don't have a lot of wrinkles in general, but we are seeing 2 through 4, and 4 is the top of the Glow-Gow scale. So they do have more photo aging and wrinkles at rest. So.
So that scale basically is 1 through 4. 1 is like your 20 to 30-year-olds. They don't really have a lot of signs of aging.
Right.
Your scale 2 or type 2 is your 30 to 40-year-olds, and those are your patients with wrinkles kind of getting there, not yet.
Like with movement.
Movement. I think type 3, type 2 is wrinkles in movement. Type 3 is wrinkles at rest. So that's your 50 through 60-year-olds. And then type 4 is just your severe wrinkled
Really
changes in skin color.
photo-aged.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So going into a little bit of the intervention, this is one of the biggest strengths in this study. It's a split-faced, randomized controlled trial. And we talked about this in our last episode with microneedling. That's really a gold standard in dermatology, and when you're looking at skin, to be able to use one face and split it, because our skin is going to be different and will react differently. So to be able to split face your own, that make
Split
sense?
face your own
Split
face.
Split face
Split
your
your
own
own
face.
face.
Split your own face in
Yeah.
half and test it on both sides is really the best way to kind of control for other variables as well. The other thing they did is all of these patients had to wear goggles so that they couldn't see, okay, what side is red, what side is amber when they were having treatment too.
Yeah. So this study design is like our favorite in aesthetics because it's hard to compare patient outcomes between two different patients than it is in one patient. You're eliminating that genetic factor, their lifestyle, their skincare habits. It's just one person, same skin. In this study, they're using identical energy. So both LEDs, identical energy, same duration, same number of sessions, just different wavelengths. So the amber LED was at 590 nanometers and red LED was 660 nanometers. But their light dose parameters were the same. So 3.8 joules or fluence and 6.4 milliwatts of irradiance, and it was at a 10-minute session. So to get into like the fluence and the irradiance, the metaphor I like to use is watering a plant. So irradiance is how fast that water is coming out of a hose or how hard that light is touching the skin. And then your fluence is how much water that plant is actually absorbing. So your water out of the hose can be super intense and super hard, and you can have it for a shorter period of time, and you can still have the same amount of water if your hose was coming out slowly for a longer period of time. So it's kind of, you would originally think like, okay, get in there, go hard.
Harder, faster,
Right.
more.
Yeah, more results.
More is better.
Yeah, but
It's
that's
like
not
with
the case.
microneedling, where people's initial thought was, oh, it needs to be like bloody red.
Yeah.
Go
Deep,
hard,
yeah.
go deep. And actually, you can really tip the skin by doing too much.
Or tip the water bucket.
Tip
In
the
this
water
case.
There
bucket.
you go. Okay. So I did really like the way that this study was laid out. They did 10 sessions of the red light therapy or the amber light therapy. Well, actually both, since it's split face. And they did it over 4 weeks. And they had people come in 2 to 3 times a week and do it for about 10 minutes, which is totally reasonable and super applicable to real life.
I love that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
They actually found that if they did it every day, that it didn't work as well as if they did it 2 to 3 times a week. And if they made it stronger, it also didn't work as well as making it a little bit lower. So like you were saying with the plant, if you have your hose spraying really strong water, that can damage the plant.
Exactly.
And if you just kind of have it sprinkling the plant over time, you can, I don't know, it collects more water and grows.
Gross.
This feels so much more attainable. Like when I read that, I was like, yes. Because everything in my brain is like, it has to be every day or nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys know, like, I barely take my supplements on a regular day.
Yeah.
Like, drinking water is a problem.
Yeah.
But so to be able to do this 2 to 3 times a week for 10 minutes, I'm like, damn, I can do that. That's manageable.
Yeah.
And I think for patients too to know this doesn't have to be every day. It doesn't need to be an hour of your time. It's 10 minutes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So really applicable. And then as far as the outcomes go, the primary endpoint in this study was wrinkle volume in the periocular area. The way they found it was they measured it with imaging. So it wasn't up to the doctor's assessment or the patient's perception.
Or questionnaires.
Or a questionnaire. It was measurable and quantifiable because of that imaging.
The
And
Vizio scan.
The Vizio scan,
Yeah.
which is well known and very detailed.
Yeah.
So that really made this a more significant study in my mind, because some of the other studies we've done, like the microneedling one, which was also split face, was more on patient perception and the doctor's eye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a place for both, right?
Yeah.
Qualitative and quantitative measurements. But for sure in science and in medicine, we need to see more of those quantitative measurements and have those objective findings.
Yeah.
And so the secondary outcomes were some of those things that we kind of talk about with patients: hydration, elasticity, and quality of life. So quality of life is going to be, of course, a survey study or a survey finding. So not just do the wrinkles improve, but does the skin behave any differently? Are we seeing changes in hydration or elasticity? And then more importantly, what does this mean for patients? Because sometimes even our clinical outcomes, although they may seem big or small to us, to a patient, really that's what matters. Like, are they feeling a difference in their quality of
Right.
life based on what we're doing?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, that's the most important part.
So, getting into the results, both red and amber LED light showed statistically significant changes, and it reduced the wrinkle volume in the periocular area by 30%.
It's awesome.
And I freaking love that result because this shows us that it really works. You can add this red light therapy as your 11th step in your regimen.
Shake it.
Yes,
You know.
shake, vibration plate, red light, it's working.
Yes.
It's working.
And so that's really significant for a non-invasive low energy treatment.
Totally.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting such a huge percentage. But if you look closer, the difference between the red and the amber wasn't that big. So they both did a great job. Red light had a 31.6% reduction in wrinkles, and amber had 29.9%. So very close. So statistically, the red light did perform better, but clinically, they were both very small in difference where patients or even us providers wouldn't be able to notice. So I think the key point is that they both work great, and it's something that's worth adding and very effective.
And I think that's helpful too, because amber light is not as available to people. A lot of people, even myself, honestly, I was like, amber light or yellow light. Red light is obviously more common. And so to be able to show also, like, red light is just as effective, if not more, in certain instances. Yeah. So then the other kind of surprising finding, I think we were all thinking, oh yeah, for sure, we'll see a change in hydration. There wasn't. If anything, there was a little bit of a decrease in hydration, which, take that with a grain of salt, right? Like, that doesn't necessarily mean it's not working. It's just within this study, they didn't see a change in hydration. There are actually other studies. There was one more recently purchased. There was one more recently published that looked at near infrared light and hydration status and did find clinically, statistically significant changes in hydration for the better. So, and that also is helpful because most devices at home have red light and infrared light kind of built into it. So
That's good to know.
you may be, of course, we're not diving into those studies here, but there are ones that will show changes in hydration too.
Weren't you telling me that there's a new Pilates studio that has
Oh,
infrared?
yes.
That would be so much more motivating to like go to class. I'm
Yes.
like, all right, I can work out and
get
improve
this
my
therapy,
skin.
yeah.
Let's
Shout out to
go.
Red Legree down
Yeah.
the street.
We
Let's
gotta try it
go.
out.
Yeah.
We need to do a group session there.
It's all about habit stacking. You
Yes.
know, you got to do them together. That's how you get them done.
Is that how you view taking your supplements as
You know
well? Or what?
I don't have anything to stack on.
Okay,
Drinking
okay.
water
Drinking
would be
water
the habit
could be
stack.
Yeah.
That might be a good
Hydration.
idea.
Okay.
All right. You know, do as I say, not as
Yes.
I do.
So the other thing that was measured was elasticity, and unfortunately and sadly for me and maybe other people, elasticity did not seem to improve. So that was kind of a bummer, but it is good for us to be able to discuss with our patients who are coming in wanting a lift or a tightening look. Red light is not going to get you those results, but maybe with other treatments as well, we can get there over time.
Yeah. And then, as you mentioned earlier, both groups did have improvement in quality of life, which I think is really valuable. You know, modest improvements in wrinkles is really encouraging to know that patients feel better about their appearance, even with just a small change. And that's like a big part of aesthetics. Like, yeah, objective changes do matter, and that's important, but I think patient perception is also just as important.
Yeah, and
Totally.
feeling more confident and helping them with their self-esteem. I mean, that's one of the biggest reasons why I think we all do this.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure.
Yeah.
So let's quickly get into limitations.
Yeah, so there's one of the biggest limitations was that about 40% of the participants dropped out of the study.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bummer.
I'm like, where did you go? Why? I guess they didn't see, significant reasons to stay, but
Yeah.
they also didn't get to the end of the study. So how are they going to know? I'm
Mm-hmm.
not sure what happened there,
Yeah.
but that can definitely introduce bias and affect how reliable the results are, which we found in other areas of this study as well. And they also only measured it for about 4 weeks after the study. And
Mm-hmm.
as we know, collagen remodeling starts at about 21 days.
Yeah.
So they probably weren't able to measure, all of the potential changes of the skin over time. So there was probably measurable changes that were taking place at where they stopped measuring and continuing on. So that would be nice to know in the future. How durable are these results? How long are they lasting? How long should we be continuing red light therapy? I mean, we always say everything is forever, but I mean, it would be nice to know some longer measurements.
Yeah.
Yeah, my guess with the dropout rate, if I'm traveling somewhere to put a light on my face for 10 minutes,
Yeah.
I can't take my supplements and drink water, I'm probably not getting there. We don't know the details of like how they found these participants, but if they weren't like within the building,
Right.
I can imagine getting someone to commute 30 minutes to do this for 10 minutes. I don't know. If it was a laser,
or like
sign
free
me up.
Botox
Free
that we can
Botox,
see,
I'm
like,
driving
let's
an
go.
hour, let's go.
Yeah.
But and that's hard too because there are meaningful benefits from doing this, but because it's so small and it takes time.
Yeah.
sometimes
I
just
wonder if the
incomplete
people that
study.
dropped out went back and looked at the results of
Like,
these
damn.
I
and
bet
I'm
they
like,
did.
darn.
I know.
Yeah. Another
Yeah.
thing I was also wondering was if any of these people are driving. Another limitation could be the left side of their face might have more photo aging and wrinkling.
Good call out.
And so depending on what side they got the amber light or the red light on, that could be a difference.
Yeah.
So I'm curious a little bit more about that.
You just got to keep people in a bubble.
I know.
You know?
Yeah.
Or drive around like me with a shade down their window.
There you go.
Yeah.
So one other limitation that I thought was interesting, the elasticity data was incomplete. So they said that for some reason they like lost the data or something happened. I don't know.
There was so much potential
So much
here.
potential. So, we didn't find any significant findings in the elasticity data, but that's also because we didn't have the whole story with
Right.
all of that. So
Yeah.
I think we can't really draw a strong conclusion about elasticity, just like we can about collagen remodeling because we don't have all of the information available to us.
Yeah.
And then one other thing is kind of what we talked about in the beginning, the population is a little bit narrow. So only women, specific age range, limited skin types. So just to be careful not to overgeneralize that, because of this study, everybody is going to see the same effect.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think the takeaway is that we can confidently tell patients that there's statistically significant changes from this red light.
Yeah.
I think the conversation now with our patients is that yes, red light LED does work, but it's best positioned as an adjunctive treatment and not your primary modality in anti-aging. So we can confidently offer it as like a broader treatment plan, pairing it with our microneedling or our facials, but it's not going to be your only thing to anti-aging.
Right.
It's best when we pair it with our other treatments in office, and you can optimize those results by doing your own homework at home.
The one caveat to that being, if you do have patients that are not candidates for injectable treatments or lasers, maybe they have impaired wound healing or severe systemic inflammation, this is something that's safe and effective for them to do. So I think that's helpful for people that are like, I can't do any of these things.
Right.
Well, you can do this. Yeah. And see
And
changes.
I thought too that, is this study applicable to devices that you can purchase? So they studied 330 to 360 was the wavelength.
No, 600s. So
Oh, sorry.
630. Yeah.
660.
Six.
Or 660.
So, yeah, they use 660
Yeah.
nanometers. And of course, I did a peruse of like what's on the market in terms of red light therapy, because I know we did a post on this too with Sam. Like, not all red lights are created equal.
Right.
And part of that is you need to understand the wavelengths. So, most commonly, the wavelengths for red light are 630 to 660. So, if a consumer is going out there looking to buy one, if you're looking to throw down $3,000 on a panel,
Yeah.
make sure your red light hits for sure 660 nanometers.
Yeah.
But then the other things like the irradiance and the fluence are going to have an effect too. And to know that the most concentrated amount of that red light is coming from the center and a little bit less on the periphery. How close does it hit the face? All of those things are
So
important.
stand right up against it.
Right up there. Yeah. So I think a call out for patients to know, yes, red light works. Yes, you will see meaningful changes in wrinkle reduction. No, it doesn't really matter if it's amber or yellow light versus red light. They're both meaningful. It's great for people with inflammation. It's great for people that can't do other types of aesthetic treatments. It for sure is an adjunct therapy. We use it in office as such as well. Yeah.
And you can add it to the 11th step in your regimen
Sure
while you're
can,
on
baby.
the vibration plate. Let's
Yep.
go.
Yep. And that also, you don't have to do it every day.
Yes,
2 to 3
that's
times
the
a week,
key.
10 minutes,
10
dude.
minutes.
Yeah.
That's nothing.
So along
Anybody
with
can
your
do that.
vitamins, you're gonna add on
Yes.
your LED light to your commitment chart.
Maybe I'm
Yes.
going to just do it here in office.
Perfect. Then we can all benefit.
I don't think that our patients would be phased if we walked in with
No,
a red light mask
not
on.
at
They
all.
would be like, I respect that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys all so much for joining us for our 5th episode of AP Class. We dove into photobiomodulation, red light therapy. And hopefully this was helpful for our listeners, whether you are a patient or provider, and know that you can go buy that machine, go buy that red light mask,
Yep.
use it.
Drop that 3,000.
Do it.
It's worth it.
All right. We will
Right.
see you guys next time. Thanks so much.
Bye.
You've been listening to AP Class, your virtual journal club for all things aesthetic medicine. If you found today's episode helpful, like and subscribe, share it with a colleague, and join us next time as we break down more evidence that helps elevate your practice. Until then, class dismissed.